Continue joining us as we're going along. But I wanted to kick this off with saying hello and welcome to the Anew Advisors webinar education series. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Liz Notling, and I'm the Vice President of Operations for Anew Advisors. Today's webinar is Kitchen Table Finance with our special guest, Jason Patton. From Anew Advisors, we have also are joined by Glen Colwell, Nick Schneider, and Mike Bongiorno. Before we get started, just a few quick housekeeping items. Today's webinar will be recorded. During the presentation, feel free to submit those questions through the chat or the Q&A feature down below. I will be monitoring those questions throughout the webinar, and we'll bring them into the conversation as we go. We'll also leave some time at the end of this webinar for any questions that were not answered during the discussion. Our goal today is to keep this conversational, practical, and helpful. We want this to feel less like a formal presentation and more like a real conversation. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Glen to introduce today's panels and get us started. So Glen, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. Good morning, everyone. I'm sure we'll have some laughs along the way, too. So as Liz mentioned, today's webinar is the Kitchen Table Finance with Mr. Jason Patton that's joined us. So the goal is simple. Let's just have a pretty energetic, fun, real-world conversation about money, retirement. I know Jason and Mike will have some career decision comments along the way that I'm sure we can all relate to. And then the financial choices that come up around the firehouse and in life. So before we jump in, I'm going to introduce Jason. Jason's a firefighter and paramedic based in South Florida and is best known as the creator of Fire Department Chronicles, where he uses humor, very funny humor, real-life fire service experience, and honest commentary to connect with his audience, firefighters, EMS professionals, first responders across the country. He's also a senior leader and co-owner of Fire Department Coffee, a company built around supporting firefighters, first responders, and the fire service community, and now widely distributed. I think if I'm watching his reels, it's being distributed in Walmart as well as several other retail stores around the country. So make sure you grab a bag of that. Jason's become a trusted voice in the fire service because the way he takes serious topics and includes both mental health, resilience, career realities, and today, money. So thank you very much, Jason, for joining us. In addition, we have our very own Mike Bongiorno, who leads our business development and relationship management for Anew Advisors with the fire service team. Mike has spent 28 years with the Milwaukee Fire Department, and as a retired captain, he is also deeply involved in union leadership towards the end of his career with the Milwaukee Fire Union. So he is also here to not only give real-world examples and advice from the fire perspective, but also a team member of Anew. And then lastly, we have Nick Schneider, who's our VP of Investment Strategy at Anew. Nick works closely with all of our clients. He helps with the investment planning, retirement planning, and building our custom roadmaps for each and every one of our first responder clients. As Liz mentioned, I'm Glen Colwell. I'm the founding and managing director of Anew. And we always lead with education. So this is truly meant to be educational. There will be no direct advice. If you want direct advice, please feel free to reach out to us. So with that, I'm going to start with everyone on the webinar panel here, Jason and Mike and Nick. Let's just kind of kick it off. We know we've gotten some questions ahead of time. One of the ones that we all giggled about as we were talking about which perspective we could take was how do I get buy-in? And Jason and Mike started right away with like, what type of buy-in are you talking about? So if you gentlemen want to start on this, that would be great.
Yeah, the question is what kind of buy? Like, are you convincing someone, your wife, your spouse, to take that you want to take more overtime, or are you trying to buy the biggest truck that you can possibly? That's a firefighter special right there. Like, I make $2,000 a month. I can afford $1,800 a month for a truck, which is not the way it should go. But I think depending on the situation, what we're talking about with the buy-in, whether it's maybe investing money in the beginning of your career, or maybe you want to diversify, or maybe you are looking to make that big purchase. I think in general, just understanding why you want to do it, the reasons behind it, the risk involved, obviously with any kind of investments or anything that you're purchasing, there's always that risk. So for me, I've always tried to look at things the best way I possibly can with the most open-minded way. I like to sleep on things. That's a big thing for me. If I want to go purchase something or invest in something or whatever it is, especially when it comes to finances, I like to think about it, write it down, sleep on it, see if I still feel the same way in the morning. But for me, that tends to be my my go-to with most things that I'm exploring.
Yeah, when I think of that question, it's such a loaded question because
Mm.
like you were saying, Jason, it could be trying to convince your partner, like, hey, we got to put more money, save for retirement in my 457. Or it could be all the way to the end of your career. And this is where a lot of firefighters, their wives really aren't ready for you to retire. Like, you can't be home all the time. And like the wife is like, the guy's coming to me going, hey, we have to get my wife to get buy-in for me to retire.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, we got our work to do, but um, yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes it can be anywhere, right? From the
Hmm.
beginning of the career to the end of the career, getting your partner at home to get buy-in.
I think explaining, having a well painted picture is a big thing. As firefighters, we make decisions immediately, or EMS personnel. It's because most of the time it's life depends on it. So we need to do something. We make the decision and we do it. But when it comes to most of the decisions in life, understanding or painting the best picture for our spouse can be a huge way to get buy-in. Because if you're able to explain things past, I want to do this, then they at least understand that you've thought a little bit more past that. And that's males or females. It's for some reason when we get into the fire EMS service, we immediately just become kind of a one-track mind person, or we get around enough like-minded people and we're like, no, I'm right. I asked the guys at the station, they said I'm right, so I'm definitely right, which but don't ever ask the guys for advice. So, I think really, really painting a picture of understanding all sides of the perspective when you're going to your spouse. God, I feel like this is going past financials. This is going to like therapy and good mental health, like thing.
Yes,
Like,
yeah.
welcome to couples therapy through Anew. It's
Yeah.
nice.
Jason, that kind of reminds me of something like I don't really think when we build these roadmaps, but it's like that aha moment for the spouse because I don't think they really realize how valuable that pension is and what it
Yeah.
does for them and their family. So when you get the firefighter saying, "No, really, I can retire. It makes more sense for me to retire financially." The spouse is
Hmm.
like, "Yeah, that doesn't even make remotely any type of sense until they see the visualization or actually
Yeah.
completely understand it in their
You
terms."
know who really has does a good job letting, let's say, your wife know how valuable it is? It's the divorce attorney.
No, dude.
They'll let them know. Like, hey,
They yeah, they're
look at
very good
that
at that.
pile. Like
Yeah.
that's an asset, baby.
Oh man,
You just punched
we
85% of firefighters in the face.
Right, boom.
It's like-
we get dragged into these conversations about valuation of pension, how to account for it, what do we do with
uh,
it in addition to the 457, the how like it's just and it comes from all different angles, but you are definitely right. The billable hours you can see in the background from the attorney is it's a
yeah.
mess.
Right, right. And I always tell that to people when they are like contemplating whether to sign up for a roadmap. I'm like, hey, listen, like it doesn't matter if you have 1 month on the job, 5 years on the job, 10 years on the job, 5 days to go. Everybody's situation is completely different, right? Everybody whose face on the screen right now is different at home. So like
Mhm.
whether you are maybe thinking about divorce or let's make it a positive, like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm going to apply to be the chief. I never thought in my
Yeah.
career I was going to be apply to be the chief, and I'm going to make how much money? What should I do with
Mhm.
all this stuff?
Yeah. I
So
think
yeah,
just planning your life, because in general, like, we understand that you want to plan for retirement, you want to plan for, the end goal of all of our careers, but also being able to enjoy that journey on the way. So what does that actually look like? I just got a financial planner probably about 4 years ago. I never had one. But to be able to sit down with someone and say, hey, this is what I have to invest. What does that look like? What can I still enjoy? I still want to go on vacations. Like, I still want to be able to enjoy what I'm working for, because I can retire. I can, save it all and die. And then it was worth nothing to me. So I think being able to sit down with someone who actually understands the numbers to say, like, well, if you invest this, then you'll have this, and you can so on and so forth, or at least give you the best understanding of your dollars. Because I don't know about you guys, man, but at no point in time during my fire school or paramedic or EMS, or I'm sorry, EMT, did they sit down and say, here's the best way to diversify your money, guys. That is, none of that happens.
no,
So I think it's best
no.
to work with someone
And
that knows it.
think about our careers, Jason. Like when you decide you're going to be a firefighter, and you're like whether you're young, middle aged, whatever, and you get hired, you're just so stoked, right? That you got hired, and now you're like, I need to put all my effort into being the best firefighter I can.
Yeah.
And that's where your focus is. And then after that, it's like, oh, do I want to take a promotion? Do I want to get involved in this part of the department, that part of the so you're always focused on that. And then when you go home, you're trying to give it all to your family.
Yeah.
So that whole planning for the future and like actually sitting down and going, hey, honey, we should probably have a budget. All right.
Yeah.
It's just not the most exciting thing to do, and no one does it.
No, and it's also terrifying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like
right.
number one, when I started as a firefighter, even when I started as an EMT, I made nothing. I made $9 an hour, and then when I became a medic, I made $12 an hour, and then when I became a firefighter, I made $37,000 a year. I live in South Florida. That's not a lot of money. Like you have to have a second job in order to be able to have a decent life. So at that time, I was scraping pennies together just to be able to pay my bills. So as I progressed through life and I was able to make a little bit more money, understanding like, oh, now I can actually save that. But doing a budget when you have $0, it's very, very hard, and it's very humbling to say, oh my God, I have 9 subscriptions for different streaming services, or oh, if I just cut back on 2 cups of coffee that I'm buying out every week, that I could actually save a little bit more money. And those things take time. It's a little bit of a self reflection that's sometimes annoying, but once you get used to it, or you dive in and actually buy into it, man, it's huge.
But it's also, I think, when we see with the early part of the career, like specifically the first 5 years, no one's telling these men and women, giving them good guidelines or principles. Nick does this part of he runs our financial training, so we get called into
Hmm.
departments all over, and we give our financial training, whether it's in person or via virtual Zoom. One of the things that Nick's always asks is, by raise of hands, who just bought a new truck? Mind you, we're
Yeah,
walking into the department, so we're walking through the parking lot and we're just counting the number of new red trucks, right? Like, so let's see if the hands
Yeah.
actually match up. So, Nick does this. It's pretty funny. Give an example of what you did locally.
Oh, you're
hmm,
talking like what I do up in Green Bay?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember the first time we did it, I had 15 new recruits in the room at Green Bay, and I asked how many of you bought a brand new pickup truck within the first 6 months of starting the job, and I had seven out of 15 guys raised their hand, and one brave guy answered my question, which was how much are you paying for your truck? And he said like 575 or like $550 a month. And in my head, I'm like, what did you put as a down payment to get your truck payment down to $550 a month on top of this?
yeah,
And then when we run that roadmap, we see it in real time. Like, man, if you would have just waited 5 years, how much better your roadmap can look. But that's why, like, for the trainings, we try to catch them on the front, right? Like before they
yeah.
go make that big new truck purchase. Like, let's talk about that, or like if there's any other, I don't want to say risky, but like out there financial decisions you want to make once you start getting that first big paycheck, right? Like, let's talk about some of this stuff and make sure it makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I think Liz had a good question there.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're
How
seeing
do
like
you
how do
how
you
do you build wealth when you're living paycheck to paycheck?
yeah. There's something that I've always ingrained in individuals. I use it myself, and this is not a plug. We don't get compensated anyways, but I would use some type of self rewarding app. So I use Acorns. Acorns is a app where every time you can link it to your bank account, your debit card, your credit card, etc. So I link it to my debit card because I very rarely carry cash. And Nick and Michael tell you, like, I'm always swiping. I want the points, right? Like, so I'm trying
Hmm.
to swipe my debit card or a business credit card, right? But every time you do that and you buy something, so let's say you buy a cup of coffee for $2.70, it'll round up 30 cents to the next dollar and put that 30 cents into an investment account.
Hmm.
So it's a habit aspect, right? Like you got to have good habits, and pennies matter. And I think that's really where we've lost sight of everything for everyone is you have to start somewhere and you have to start now.
And
And so go ahead, Nick.
I was just saying to add on to that, when you talk about the budget and starting early, two big things, right? So living paycheck to paycheck. I dealt with a couple up in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, young couple. They got married, never looked at their finances together, and they said to me that they didn't really have any extra money to save. Well, we ran through their budget and we found, to Jason's point earlier about subscription services, they had multiple subscription services that they were both paying that they never talked about in their 5 years of being together. And so we immediately freed up a couple $100 in the budget with one 15-minute conversation, right? And so like there are like budgeting tools out there that you can use to start that process. It's like some people like spreadsheets, some people want to use an app that does it automatically for them. But just making sure you're revisiting that. And when you talk about then how you build that, we
Yeah.
can't emphasize enough like starting early.
Hmm.
Time in the market is better than timing the market, if any of you have heard that before. But if you're able to save a couple $100 a month for the first 5 years, that's more valuable than saving $1,000 a month at the end of your career. So getting on top of that budget, like Glenn mentioned, building good habits, like Jason mentioned, building that budget, all those little things, while it might just seem like pennies or dollars at a time, add up over 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's very daunting to a lot of people when they look
Yeah.
at it. They're like, well, I can't put $2,000 a month away. Like, what am I supposed to do? But
Yep.
$50 a month is better than nothing. My brother used Acorns, and
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact numbers, but he told me whatever it was, and like the way they was investing and the way they were doing, like he made like 15% on his money, and I was like, that's incredible. Like, and he
Yeah.
didn't do anything. He was just,
Doing pennies at a time.
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and it's
and it
it's
was
it's
so
not only
good.
as simple habits, but they let you build a pretty I'm gonna call it basic portfolio. I mean, you got to start
Hmm.
somewhere, right? The other thing is I recently was talking to a firefighter out of I think it was Missouri, and he uses an app called YNAB. I think it's You Need a Budget. I think that's the
Mm,
acronym. And but what I liked about what he was telling me is that you actually assign each dollar that comes into the account a job. So this job for this dollar is to pay my energy bill this month. And so you're assigning it a task. And once you do that, it says your task is complete when it's paid. So it's reinforcing the behavior again. Whatever works for you, but you have to do something. You have to.
yeah,
It's
and
funny how things have evolved, right? Like now there's apps for all these things. I just grew up with an immigrant dad who said, "Hey, don't buy that.
uh, I'm glad you defined it because there was no doubt in my mind that your father was Italian. Or Sicilian. Yeah.
You don't need that.
Yeah.
It's not how much money you make, it's how much you save."
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just funny how things have evolved into like using apps and how to budget, and
Yeah.
I didn't grow up that way. I didn't,
Yeah.
it's just
But
but things
Mike,
have evolved.
you and I were talking the other day with a couple of leaders. The budget system back then was also you don't need that. But remember the envelopes? Like I remember my grandparents and parents like they had envelopes and like they'd get paid, right? These are the days of everyone had cash. No one carries it anymore. But they would write the actual thing that they would pay for, and they would put the cash in the envelope at the beginning of the month, and then just pay it. Like that's essentially a budgeting and app system. It's
Yeah.
just the old school paper
Yep.
way.
Yep.
That's amazing.
The different envelopes in my dad's sock drawer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you talk about like a while, it wasn't too long ago, we didn't have this credit card debt scenario, right? Where it was so easy just to go start swiping stuff on credit card debt. And you'd be surprised how much you can get ahead by just not having that debt. So like
Yeah.
I know like it does create convenience, it does create some room for emergencies when you have those credit cards, but making sure you're paying off those balances, it again, that's not something that feels like a lot, but when you talk about building wealth, not having to run uphill against credit card debt and bad debt also
Yeah.
puts you in a really good position, right? Where like
That was that
our
was big
parents
for
didn't
me.
have to deal with a lot of that stuff because they weren't around.
Yes. Yeah. No, that was huge for me when I was 23 years old to 22 years old. I'd gotten a credit card. What it was is I had a credit card that was linked to my bank account. So if I overdrew, they would just charge the credit card at 30%. Like, and I ended up getting a very substantial credit card bill, and I was paying it every month, but I forget what it was. Like it was like $500 in interest a month or something, like just disgusting. Like there was no way I was ever going to pay this off. Thankfully, I was able to figure it out, but exactly, there was no way I was ever going to do it. So now I'm religious about it. Like I never get charged interest. I make sure that I pay it off because they're charging you 29%. Somebody asked, what software app is best for budgeting and or tracking portfolio investments? Is it safe to link brokerage accounts directly to these apps?
Yeah, so good question. There's a couple of them out there. Like DollarWise is a newer one. The other one that Glenn mentioned, what was the acronym, Glenn?
I think it's YNAB. You need a budget.
You
I'm
need a
starting to hear
budget.
that pop up more and more. And then Acorns I use. But as far as tying brokerage accounts to a specific app, I would be careful with that. If you have a one institution that you are using for your brokerage account or investment account, and another institution that you're using for your budgeting app, allowing those to get tied together. I know there's systems like Plaid that do security, etc. So
And
just
that's what I was going to. Yeah.
yeah, just be careful with that. We use Schwab Institutional as our custodian for all of our clients' accounts. The amount of security and layers of security that you need out there, what we've seen in this finance and investment world, Nick and I do a lot of work with institutions for retirement plans, right? 457s, 401ks, 403bs at the institutional level. The amount of security and software these record keepers have for your $457 is insane. Like you can call in and they're recording your voice and they're doing voice recognition in real time. So they're listening to the background at the same time. If the background doesn't match your zip code or your voice recognition pattern, they will shut down your transactions. Um,
Wow.
And
so it,
on that, I'm going to add, so like not all 457 providers are the same, but some of them are really good and they have budgeting apps built in.
yep,
So when you talk about linking accounts, it might be easier than you think if you just tool around in whatever deferred comp 457 provider you have.
yeah,
My guess is you might have a very usable tool to track everything already right inside of your deferred comp versus going out to one of these other providers. And so sometimes it's easier than you think.
yeah.
And,
And
and
if you're and
somebody
if you're
asked to
worried about
explain
like
what a 457 is.
Yeah.
what was that? Or what? Explain what a 457 is.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank
somebody
you,
asked.
Jason.
Mhm.
It's a deferred compensation program provided by your employer. So if you're in public safety, law enforcement, or fire service, it's particularly sponsored by the municipality. It allows you to save dollars out of your paycheck towards your retirement. And you can choose to do so pre-tax, which is the traditional way, or post-tax in the Roth provision of your 457 deferred comp plan. So if you're not using it, this is probably a general rule of education and advice. Start using it. And if you are using it and you're using the traditional pre-tax contribution, seriously consider putting part of that deposit into the Roth component of your deferred comp 457. And that grows tax-free as long as you keep it in there at least 5 years and reach the age of 59 and a half.
And I can say with like 100% conviction, every single person I know that has started a 457, every single one of them, and as they're leaning towards their retirement, they are so happy that they started at 457 because it grew so much, and they all have the same exact story. I started off at 25 bucks or $50 a paycheck, whatever they could afford at the time, and then just slowly kind of grew it over time. And these guys they're leaving with life-changing money to be able to further invest and continue to grow their wealth. But yeah, it doesn't have to be a ton. I think it's super overwhelming for people because they hear retirement. I need $5 million. I need, whatever it is. You got to start somewhere, and whatever you have once you get there. But as long as you at least started to invest, even if it's just a little, but it's more than nothing.
Mike, give your example how when you talk to, we get asked to do like a lot of new recruit classes about your starting amount for your 457 deferred contribution on your paycheck.
So for my through my experience being here in Wisconsin and Milwaukee, Milwaukee did not contribute to Social Security. So, whatever I was doing before I got hired in the fire department, I was paying Social Security out of my check, right? It was coming out of there.
Mm.
So I always think that that's a good place to start. Is like, all right, before I was working, they were taking 6 or 7% out. It'd be a good place to start, 6 or 7%. Um, Things have changed with the rules now for us in public safety or in the fire department for getting Social Security over the last year with the windfall elimination provision being lifted. So that's great, but you still got to work to get your quarters. But that's where I always tell people to start. And like you said, Jason, what I was told, not by a financial advisor, but the senior guy sitting at the kitchen table, was,
Yeah.
hey, start here, and then every time we get a raise, every time you get a promotion, do a little bit more. Put a little bit more in. Try to get to that 15% in the middle of your career. because
And if it's coming out of your paycheck, you don't even think about it. Like
right.
Yeah.
it's,
Yep, you get used to it. You
yeah.
do. And that goes back to the question about like, how do I save when I'm living paycheck to paycheck? Truly, starting early and as soon as you get on, and I know those are the hardest times sometimes, right? Because you might have like a five-step process before you become full paid. They might not let you work overtime when you first start, something along those lines. It might be difficult, but if you start it and make it automatic, you get used to it. You get
I did the
it,
same thing with my steroid budget. Like I just made sure
Start
that I put
small.
enough aside.
yeah.
Yeah, gotta. As I get older, it's getting higher. So it's.
Those supplements, man, they tell them more expensive than ever.
I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, because the
Um,
low T thing is real.
Yeah, oh, it is.
It's real. I'm the oldest one on the screen. I'm telling you, it's real.
Oh,
we
um,
had
beautiful.
a company come in and did all of our physicals, and it was the first year they did it, drew blood, everything, and we laughed so hard because we were like 80% of our department went on TRT the next
Are
day.
you
Like they were like,
serious?
You're all low, you all gotta go on
Yeah,
it." We're like,
yeah.
okay.
They should have had a medical provider right after the testing, right, and just start slinging the TRT.
100%. Just here's your vial. You guys got insulin. Or go. You got this.
Uh,
I want to answer. So the guy asked the question post-retirement, which is another very good question that I want to make sure we touch on for post-retirement for 457, because that deferred comp 457 when you retire, because most of you are going to retire not at 59 and a half, right? You're going to retire significantly before. And so that registration, that account is actually super valuable because you can take out of it between, I'm going to say 53, right? Like let's say you retire at 53, you can take out of that account between 53 and 59 and a half without paying additional Fed and state penalties, right? So like if you have like in Wisconsin, there's an early withdrawal penalty of 10% or on top or 6% on top of your Fed penalty for early withdrawal of 10. That's if we were to take it out of like an IRA, but when you take it out of your deferred comp, you don't pay that additional penalty. If it's pre-tax, you're going to pay your taxes. That doesn't change. But by keeping some of it in that deferred comp, you're going to save 15, 16% maybe by having that deferred comp. And so it's going to help you bridge that gap between when you retire the first time, right? I'm going to say this right now. When you retire from fire service, most of you go back to work, no matter what you tell me. You're going to retire in April. You're going to enjoy summer off, and then you're going to end up getting bored somewhere in winter and going back part time and then saying you need less money, right? And so you're going to end up being or taking money out of that deferred comp for a little bit either way. But that way you have additional cash flow. You have another bucket you can draw from for those 6, 7 years between retirement one and what's probably retirement two when you really retire sometime after age 60. So it's important that you have dollars in that bucket.
That's
you,
amazing.
I'm gonna share a little story. We literally do thousands of these retirement roadmaps for law enforcement and fire service, but we see this generalization. The firefighter or a police officer pulls the plug in their early 50s, right? Call it 50, 51, 52, 53, whatever the rules are within your municipality, 20
They
and
got the
years.
buy-in from their wife and they're retiring. Yes.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so they're like, "Oh, we're good on healthcare because my wife's going to work till I get to 65." And then you're in maybe year 2 pushing year 3 and you're at home doing shit, and or you have a little part-time job and your wife's at work and she comes home one day on a Friday after a long week. She's like, "Bullshit, I'm retiring tomorrow on Monday." We see this, I mean, at least 80% of the time.
Yeah.
So when you're doing this roadmap, making sure you're having those dollars accessible through 457s, IRAs, right? Like that's where this all matters, is when it comes out and how it comes out, when it comes out, and how much, right? And so just make sure you understand those rules and how that works.
My wife is getting she'll have her master's degree wrapped up in the next year in marriage and family therapy, and
Does she need a
we were talking.
job? Does she want to consult for us?
Yeah, maybe, probably, yeah. But we were talking to our financial person, and like we're going through. I'm like, I think I can retire in the next 2 years, and she's like, and that's when I'll take over. I'll just keep working, for the next 15, 20 years. Not 3 seconds went by. We're all hysterically loud. I was like, that's not true. That's not gonna happen. I'm gonna retire 1 year later. You're gonna be like, I don't want to work if you're not working. So yes, I'm already a part of that, Glenn, and I'm not even retired yet. So.
I say it all the time. Like I can count it. It's happened exactly 0 times in all of the years we've been doing this where the wife has actually worked until
Yeah.
65 to cover insurance. It has never happened. We've been doing this a while. They
Uh-huh.
will retire sooner. And that's where, again, where like when you have these deferred comp dollars, you're going to need to fill a gap, right? Unless, because like there's this like weird thing like in the world where they say like you need like 80% of your income when you
Yeah.
retire, when you get to retirement, right?
Hmm.
For some people, that's true, right? When you account for like kids being out of the house,
Hmm.
sometimes that reduces expenses, but oftentimes people don't change their lifestyle a whole heck of a lot. And so, like, when you retire and you're making 80, 90, $100,000 a year, wife might be making 80, 90, $100,000 a year. Well, now you go down to your pension still might be 60 or 70, but your spouse wants to retire. Well, we got a gap, right?
Yeah.
And that looks different for a lot of people. If you want to maintain your lifestyle, we need a good sum of money every year
Yeah.
to be able to make sure we're filling that gap. Now, some people pull back, right? But like the example I give all the time, most people, like if they're a new car person, we get people all the time that say, I'm going to pay off my car when I get to
Hmm.
retirement. So I'm not going to have that car payment. But after we've been working them for a while, it's like, hey, I've seen you get to paying off your car
Yeah.
and you say you're not going to buy a new one, and then you call me a month later saying, "Hey, can we take money out for a new car?" So like once you're that new
Yeah.
car person, I kind of have an idea that you're a new car person.
Yeah.
So like that lifestyle doesn't change too much. So preparing for that and making sure you have enough saved up in that deferred comp and that 401k and that Roth IRA when you get to retirement, that withdrawal pattern and spending pattern becomes even more important. And that's where like the psychology side of it is where like Len and I have to deal with people, like sometimes we have to say no when people
Yeah.
come back with that, right?
I'm the opposite. I'm driving a 2016 Kia Optima. This thing is a giant piece of crap. But I'm like, I don't care. I don't want a car payment that way. Looks like a
But you're
Christmas light
probably
every time I
always
get
going to
in there.
be that, right? You're always going to be the no car payment guy.
Yeah.
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 But I tell you, man, the health insurance, that is a big deal. And I think that's something that we don't realize because, like you said, I will be eligible to retire at 45. And if I do, that's amazing. But if not, then 50 is the actual age for me. That is well before most people are retiring. And the number one thing that I hear from all these guys that I retire is, dude, my insurance is $2,000 a month. Like it
Yeah.
like skyrockets overnight.
Hmm.
You're like, holy crap. So very few. I've only met one guy, and he's about to retire in September. He is retiring at 63, so he can roll right into his Social Security, and he can get
Wow.
Medicare, and he can do everything. So like, and he's worked very hard his entire life. He deserves it. But he is one of the very few that I know that will be like set up for life. The rest of us were like, oh crap, we actually need more money. What just happened?
Right.
And so like we see some municipalities that offer great retiree healthcare and some municipalities that offer none, and then everything in between, right? So like that's where we are real big fans of putting like VIBAs in where we can, right? Where we can
Yeah.
get some retiree healthcare savings built in
Hmm.
ahead of time specifically for that cost, or going and working there. Like there are specific advisors and groups that help find that insurance. So it's daunting when you go out if you
Yeah.
don't know and you just end up like on your city Cobra plan and you end up paying $2,000 a month and you're like, what in the hell just happened to my health insurance? But you
That's
might
us.
be able to go get, yeah, you might
Yeah.
be able to go find out on the Affordable Care Act webpage
Hmm.
something that's half the price and gets you all the coverage, but you don't know unless you go out and you
Yeah.
do your research, you work with someone. But there's people out there that can help get into better insurance plans so you're not it's going to be expensive, like there's no doubt it's always going to be more expensive if you can't stay on your plan at a reduced rate, but it
Yeah.
might not have to be that $2,000 Cobra plan. And so
Yeah.
you're right, it's a huge conversation and it stops some guys from retiring for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. I can see why. 100%.
And when
Jason,
you
maybe
get into a
talk about.
situation that you're in, Jason, like the point you are in your career, I think it's important for us senior guys to actually have these conversations at the kitchen table because I think one of the trends across the country right now is a lot of fire departments are very young, right? Like we go
Oh
to
yeah.
conferences all over and people are like, um, over 50% of our department has less than 5 years on. Like you hear that all the time. And so like so many young people and they don't know about the benefits. And you have to like talk to them early on and go, understand this. And back to what you were saying before, have a plan. And what we
Yeah.
always realize is, okay, we're going to help you build a plan. No matter where you are in your career, tell us what your goals are. What does your retirement look like? Like what age, you know? And
Yeah.
then every year it's important to have a review because that plan's going to change,
Hmm.
right?
Oh
Good
yeah.
news, bad news. Like so, things happen in your life, and we help people pivot and plan.
Maybe for
Amazing.
the younger audience on this, the firefighters and police officers that are working in this field. Jason, I know you touched on this a little bit, but the last few years of your career for overtime and how that impacts you. And Mike, I know you have the same scenario, maybe just a little bit different in a different state, but that's important to know. I don't think a lot of these younger firefighters really realize how valuable that is at the end of their career.
Yeah, I think the best thing you can do at any point in time in your career, but especially in the beginning, is sitting down and understanding the pension system that you're in, or like
Yep.
how it actually operates, what you're
Yep.
allowed to contribute to it, like the way it works. And it's so different everywhere. I have friends that are up in Illinois. They're the last year, whatever their last year is, that's what they make. And like,
That's what I was, Jason,
yeah,
right? My last 26 pay periods.
yep.
Your highest
That's it.
26 pay periods. Yep.
Yeah, and we where I'm at, I'm a city pension. We're our highest 2 years, no matter where it is within the career. I know the state of Florida, I believe they're the highest eight now or something like that. They were the highest five for a while. Now I believe it's the highest eight.
Okay.
I may be wrong there, but for a lot of the state pensions, you can, or at least for Florida, it's unlimited overtime you can put on as long as you don't work for a city. So if you work for a county, as much overtime as you work within those periods of time, that goes towards your end result. And we were like that Riviera for a very long time. That changed about 4 or 5 years ago. Some guy, some firefighter got a $350,000 pension a year because he worked nonstop overtime, and the cities were like, "Okay, that's not happening. Let's shut that down real fast."
Yep.
So now the maximum amount that I can put into my pension is 300 hours of overtime. So, but I need to make sure that I maximize that. Talking to guys in my department, they're like, dude, how much money can that possibly be? It's $23,000 a year. Like that's a
Forever.
lot of money. That is
Right.
a
Yeah.
ton of money.
Yeah.
Um, and so now I'm making sure I work that overtime. We can also add, we're allowed to pad our pensions with sick and vacation time if you have any left over. So really understanding what works and what doesn't work and how to maximize it is super important because guys will tell you $1,000 a month, that's not a lot of money. When it really is, that could be what's paying your health insurance. It
Right.
could be what's that extra little cash. So understanding it, maximizing it, and then moving forward the best that you possibly can.
Well, and not all pensions account for inflation either. So we
Yeah.
see some pensions that give a cost of living adjustment, some that don't. And so when
Hmm.
you talk about understanding pension, those little nuances in there, how the overtime works, can your sick pay go into it? Can you do paid up contributions? I talk to
Yeah.
guys all the time, like, do they let you buy back military service? So like
Hmm.
some pensions, if you were in the military in your early years, you can actually retire a couple years earlier, and it might only cost you a couple $1,000 early in your
Yeah.
career to buy more years of your pension, right? So like
Yep.
all those things make a huge difference on how you're going to retire and when.
Like we don't have a cola, so we don't
Yeah.
have any cola. Uh, it's just good luck. But
Can you, but so like when you get to retirement, then if you don't have a COLA, are you guys able to do like a partial sum rollout?
I don't think so.
Okay.
The only thing that we've got going for us now that kind of gives you what I believe would give you the best benefit would be that we do have the drop program. So you
Nice.
can at least
Another
drop for that
great
five.
benefit.
Yeah. Drop for the five, then take that, roll in it. Because most of these guys are making a decent amount of money during that drop period. And the state of Florida just changed it to 8, I think that, or they're changing it to 8 years now that you
You
can
can
do
do
that. So,
8 years on the drop
yeah.
program.
Yeah. Some people do 10. I'm not
Oh
sure
my
if that
God.
actually went through yet with the 8, but yeah, there's 10-year drops. It's I do not want to work 10 years after I'm ready to retire, but that's but I get it. I mean, it's huge chunks of people are retiring with $500,000 in the drop program. If invested properly, that could make up for that lack of cola. So,
Can
Yeah.
we maybe just explain the drop a little bit more in detail for those maybe the younger firefighters? Jason, from your perspective, working it and looking at it from a firefighter, and then Nick, from our perspective, how we plan for it in our roadmap, right? Because they're very two different angles that we see across the country for
mhm.
those states that do offer the drop.
Yeah. So once you retire and you get your numbers, you retire according to whatever your pension system is. You continue working for the state or for your city, so you get your normal whatever your pay would be for your hours that you're working. But whatever that pension is starts going into your drop, and then it slowly builds over time. You get enough money in there, and then I believe it's invested as well, so you can also be making money on that. But it's a huge benefit for us.
Yeah, so we talk all the time, and I've gotten into some heated debates with some people, some firefighters over like, do I take this drop? Do I use it? I think some of this is about your habits again, right? So the drop, you get your number. Let's say your pension benefits $4,000 a month. It's going to keep, you're not going to get that pension right away. You're going to keep working. You're going to say, hey, I am guaranteed to retire 3 years from this date, and I'm going to keep taking that pension. It's going to go into a new bucket. It's going to be invested, and it's going to keep filling up. Some guys are like, well, why wouldn't I just quit, take that money, get a part-time job, and invest it myself? I'm like, I hear you. I understand what you're saying to me, but you're not going to save all $4,000 of that pension and then just magically 3 years from now say, I'm done and I'm going to take this money. So, like, I really like the drop plans because when you take the person out of it, right, you've automated this saving and this investing
hmm
where you can end up then having this large chunk of money. That's how I help our firefighters that don't have a COLA or any sort of adjustment on their pension. That drop plan then becomes a new bucket of money that can be invested to account for not getting it, right?
Yeah.
Because now you're going to use that drop money, you're going to invest it. So now, in combination with deferred comp, which hopefully you started, your drop plan, which is going to be our inflation buffer, and then your pension, we should be able to solve a lot of problems. But then you got to know this is all wrapping. This buy-in question ended up being great at the beginning because you got to get buy-in from your spouse of saying like, hey, I know we were talking about me retiring this date, but I really think I need to work 3 more years, and here's why. Because if you go in
hmm
and you're just like, I need to work 3 more years, and be like, no.
Yeah.
Like, but then when you explain, hey, we have this drop program, it's going to create this much extra income for us when we get to retirement. Here's why I think I should work 3 or maybe even 5. Some people might just do 1, right? So, like some places where they max their pension out, an extra year might only give them $200, not even a hundred
Yeah.
bucks a month an extra pension. Then it can be like, okay, let's build a spendable bucket of like free use money because I can take now this drop plan for an extra year and we're going to get an extra $50,000 check, right? So like that drop conversation can be really important for how you get that extra spending money too.
And I think that's really important. Two things. One, it's really important to have that conversation with you guys or the your financial advisor to understand that better. Because again, we'll sit around the firehouse table and we'll be like, the number's 22. You got to retire at 22 because of this, and they're literally just spouting stuff out of their buttholes. Like none of it makes sense. It's like they're just making it up. But you sit down with someone who actually understands the numbers, they're able to crunch the numbers and say, no, this is when you should retire with this amount of drop, and then that's this is what it'll look like extrapolated over time. Um, the buy-in thing, the other thing I want to add to that is if you're looking for buy-in from your spouse and it's specific to finances like this or future financial choices, maybe sitting down with you guys is the best thing because you can actually explain it better than them saying, I need to work another 3 years. And they say, why? Well, because money, money. But versus saying, hey, I want to work another 3 years. Nick, would you mind explaining why that's going to be best for us financially? And then you're able to actually explain it well, put all the numbers there, and they're like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Because if you're buying in 100%, you feel good about the choice. It makes that decision so much better.
It's funny you say that, Jason. We actually had a few, I'll call them senior firefighters, very long in their career, telling their wives they're going to retire, and the wife's like, "No, you're going to work." And so they give us this backdrop of what you just said, this feedback. So they
Mm.
position us when we're in the meeting, like, see, these guys said I could retire now. It just makes sense now. I'm not saying it; they're saying
It
it,
actually makes it actually doesn't make sense for me to continue working. That would be like the
right?
Yeah.
dumbest thing for me to do. I'm
Yeah.
working for free.
Or the flip
Gee,
side of
honey,
that,
I'm working for free. I'm not working for the city for free.
the flip side of that, Glenn, is when we tell the spouse they can retire, and then the first responder is like, "Why in the fuck did you just say that?"
Whoa, whoa, what are you doing? Don't tell them that.
Hey, the numbers are the numbers, man.
Yeah.
Why? Yeah, I think.
One of the coolest things, stories that I share often is, we had an assistant chief go to retire, and he ran through our roadmap process, and a very sweet couple, and they were looking to see when the wife actually could retire, right? And they had some health care issues. They sold their home. They bought a small little condo in the metro area so they could enjoy the downtown lifestyle. We were running through the numbers, and we literally said, "Listen, the wife," we said to the wife, like, "You can retire too." And her face changed, and she started crying. Like, she
Mm,
literally started crying because she thought she was going to have to work another 5 to 8 years to fulfill their lifestyle goals. So it's also
that's
things like
cool.
that. You might be better off than you even expect, but how would you know unless you sit down with someone? To Jason's point.
And
I'm
even in
telling
that
you.
scenario,
Go ahead, Nick.
oh, go ahead, Jason.
No, I was gonna say, I 4 years ago sat down with, or 5 years ago, however long ago it was, sat down and like went over that roadmap, and you get to see, the best, the moderate, and all the different scenarios that happen. And even, if you're 21 years old or 20 years old, and you can see that, you can see like, oh man, if I do this, like, this is the next step. Oh, I can actually make this, so on and so forth. It gives you a goal, and it gives you an understanding of what happens. Most of us are completely blank to this information. We think $50 a month, that's it, or $100 a month, or what, 10%, whatever it is. Oh, that's it. Like, no, look how much this compounds over time. Look how this could work just by this little thing. So actually being able to see those numbers it's hugely impactful.
The other thing I want to share, maybe we went a little bit technical. We're talking about all this savings aspect, right? And putting yourself in a good position for when you retire, and good habits, and making sure you're budgeting, and making sure your buying patterns are prudent. But the flip side is that when you actually do start taking distributions in retirement, there's this train of thought out there that says, well, I'm going to retire. I won't have a lot of quote unquote earned income for taxes, so maybe my tax rate will go down. I can't tell you how many times Nick and I have run a roadmap, where their tax bracket's going to be the same or more. Your pension is
Mm,
taxable income, right? When you start having a drop program, and when you start taking distributions out of your 457, if it went in pre-tax, all that matters from your taxable bracket. So we're by no means accountants. We don't play accountants on TV, or attorneys, but it matters, and you need to know where you fall within your tax bracket when you start taking distributions out. It's a big deal.
yeah.
The other question we get a lot about is Roth. Maybe Nick, you can share a little bit about Roth conversions, or using your taxable tax bracket for creating tax-free dollars. That's another topic that's just not understood and needs a lot of education on, especially for first responders.
Yeah, because we get questions all the time, like, should I do it while I'm working? No, probably not, right? You have two people working, income's high. So we'll always look at, running up right to the next tax bracket. Most of you guys right down, the federal tax brackets are 22, 24%. And that's where you're gonna live. Um, for even when you start taking your pension, you're gonna have your pension payments, you're gonna have Social Security, you're gonna have um, distributions coming out of your deferred comp plans. And so we'll look at how much do we need to convert, stay in that bracket, right? And then make sure we're using all of it. We don't fret too much about 2 extra percent, but like when you start getting into the higher earning ranges, like we might say something if it's going to cost you 8 or 10 when you start getting into those higher income tax brackets. So we look a lot. Where are we at for income? How much do we need to convert? Should we convert? Um, one question for like people that want to pass it on to their kids, I ask all the time is how much do you love your kids, right? Because do you
Mm.
want to pay the taxes or do you want your kids to pay the taxes, right? So it might not make sense to convert all these dollars, right? If you're just going to pass it on to kids and they can handle taxes. So those are all conversations we have when it comes to conversions.
When do I start going to Art Basel and purchasing high-end art to,
Yeah.
for tax shelters? That's
Right
And then
about the
don't
time
take
you purchase
possession
your
and
first NFT.
yeah.
my NFT.
I'm
Oh
just
man.
gonna interrupt real quick. We have probably about 9 minutes left. So if there's questions that haven't been asked or haven't been answered yet, if anybody has any questions, go ahead and throw them in the Q&A or into the chat, and we'll have you guys answer those.
Thank you,
If you're
Liz.
asking what is Art Basel, none of us are rich enough to even know what it really is, so don't worry about
It's
it.
Miami, correct, Jason?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like the whole you
Yeah.
go buy a this painting is worth $15 million, right? Right, tax guy? Yes,
Yeah.
$15 million.
Wrap it up and ship it overseas so I never take possession. Yeah.
No,
The
and
raw
when
thing
you
is real though. The whole conversion aspect, so converting pre-tax dollars into after-tax dollars to not pay taxes, that's a Roth conversion. That's a real topic, and just don't take it lightly. Don't take any singular advice. Make sure you do your research. So it's very important.
All right.
We
And also,
Would we get a message?
I'm gonna get on your game show. It says, Jason, I've seen multiple clips where you Chicago Fire and other fire shows. So from firefighting to acting, I've never been on Chicago Fire. Everyone thinks I'm the captain on Chicago Fire, but I'm not. The green screening, I'd like to green screen myself in those shows. The game show, you guys probably don't know this. I run a game show called Shot or Shock. It's Jeopardy, but with consequences. Fun time. It's a you can get on there. We just finished filming season 2, but season 3 will be coming up hopefully in the next year or so. So anytime, Dan, maybe we can get you on there. It'd be fun.
Cool.
And can you continue so can you contribute to the 457 post retirement? Should you look at a large severance contribution to 457 at retirement?
Ooh, that's a good question. So, post retirement, actually, separation from service, you cannot contribute to your 457. But as you mentioned, Jason, earlier, and Mike, I think you've had this opportunity too. Sometimes there's buckets of money that happen at the end of your career. Pay time off, sick leave, healthcare expenses. I know for Mike in the Milwaukee area, this is like this global settlement. A lot of times there's buckets of money that you have to make a decision at the end of your career. And if it's allowable to be put into your 457, you do need to consider that and plan for that. So that's actually a very, very good question.
And I'll add my baseline kind of advice that I'm not real hesitant about giving anyway. If you can put it into your deferred comp, if you can't, like, if you just can't make a decision, it is that day you are in the office and they ask you, what do you want to do with this bucket of money? Because you haven't thought about it yet. If you at least put it into your deferred comp, you can at least defer that decision because you're not going to pay taxes on it that day. Where if you say, screw it, put it in my checkbook, you are going to get taxed more than likely on those dollars. So if you are under the gun and you need a decision, a good default is put it in your deferred comp. Put it into your 457 because at least then you can wait and then it might be, hey, I need the money and it's 6 months later. We'll worry about the taxes then. But if you need to make a decision now, that is a good baseline assumption. Put it in your deferred comp, get it invested, and then we'll talk about how we take it out appropriately. Because
Yeah.
oftentimes getting $100,000 severance check for all of your back sick pay, vacation days is almost never beneficial from you from a tax perspective, right? So just that's a good standard.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think for a lot of people or everyone watching this, it's a big decision. And I know it's a lot of anxiety involved to start looking at money and finances and how to handle it. Or I was working with a guy last week. He had a chunk of cash and he's like, I think I want to invest this. And he told me how much it was. I was like, where are you keeping that? He's like, my savings account. I was like, you're losing money, bro. Like with inflation, you're losing money. I was like, put it somewhere, man. So just it's a hard decision, but once you make the decision, kind of releasing that thought that's constantly in the back of your head, that's so good for you. So make the dive or take the dive. It's a great choice.
Yeah.
That's why I always tell people that this is a healthy experience when you meet with someone and get a plan. It like releases some anxiety.
Yeah.
You go, oh, all right, now I have a plan and I understand the plan.
Yeah.
It actually puts you in a better place mentally. And I'll say like being the person who's actually living on the other side of all this now, being a planner and being a saver my entire life, switching that flip to being a spender is kind of
Mm.
a hard thing. Like people go, oh, when you retire, you got to make sure you have hobbies and you're going to keep busy. And flipping the switch from save, 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 save to, oh shit, I have all this money I saved up. Now we got to spend it.
Hmm.
It's a beautiful thing, but it's also kind of hard because you're like, no, I can't spend that. I'm supposed to be saving. So it's uh it's a good problem to have.
Absolutely. What are the
It,
max 20, what are the 26 max 457 contributions in HSA?
Yeah, so now here, okay, I'm going to cover a couple things here. Depends where you are in your career. So just standard contribution to your deferred comp, I'm looking at it right now, 24,500 for 2026. This could be a whole nother presentation. So whoever asked the question, don't hesitate to reach out if you got real in-depth questions because you have special catch-up contributions where in your last 3 years you can actually double the amount of money every year, which is how we get these big deposits into deferred comp plans is through a special catch-up contribution. And then you have like your normal $8,000 catch-up contribution after age 50. So there's a regular, there is a super, and there is a 3-year rule that in the last few years of your deferred comp, we can actually save a boatload of money into that deferred comp plan if you need or want to. And HSA, I'm going to talk on this real quick too. Great benefit if any of you have them. Money goes in tax free, grows tax free, comes out tax free as long as it's used for qualified medical expenses, which you will all have. We get
Mm.
this all the time, whether it's VIBA or HSA, or specifically with guys a lot with the VA that say they have insurance or they have benefits when they retire. I don't care who you are, you're going to have medical expenses. Even if your hospital visits covered, your standard visits covered, um, you're going to have prescriptions. You're going to have emergency room visits that aren't fully covered. Like it happens. You're going to have expenses. Mike talks about it all the time. Like you're going to have little things that come up where having those HSA dollars or VIBA dollars tax free becomes really valuable.
Hmm. Love it.
This was great. I'm just going to let you guys know we have about a minute left. Jason, thank you so much for joining us today. I know I enjoyed the conversation. I'm assuming
Thank
everybody
you.
else enjoyed the conversation. And we will be, this webinar was recorded, so we will be sharing it online as well. And then just following up with all the attendees with some extra little goodie links that they'll be able to download if they're interested. So that is the end of our webinar today. Again, thank you, everybody, and we
Appreciate
appreciate
it,
your
guys.
being here.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thanks a
Thank you,
lot.
Jason.
All
Great chatting, guys.
Yep.
Thanks,
Take care.
everyone.
Bye bye.
Have a great
Thank
day.
you.
Bye.